So, Chris Jericho got cancelled. Yeah, that's the topic of today's video, something I want to talk about, the cancellation of Chris Jericho. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, what's happened? What do you mean Chris Jericho cancelled? What? Fill me in, what's happened? Okay, basically, on Twitter, a platform which, if you are not on, it's probably best if you stay off it, to be honest. Twitter's not exactly the greatest platform known to mankind. But anyway, on Twitter, about a day ago, as of me making this video, or like 2-3 days, however long since you watching this or whatever, Chris Jericho made a tweet. Now, the tweet went, "I'm not a political person, but is it strange to anybody else that for the first time ever, we have to wait a day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days to find out who won the presidential race?" Now, as of me making this video, that tweet has 18.7k likes, 6.4k retweets, and 11.8k comments. Now, usually when a tweet has that kind of ratio, it's usually a cancellation, and this one is no different. Chris Jericho, for that tweet, has been cancelled. Now, I want to give my opinions on this because I thought, as a topic, that there's stuff to talk about here, and there's stuff that's worthwhile to entertain you guys with. So, I want to start off by saying, this tweet, just forget that Chris Jericho said it. Just pretend this is random Joe Schmo 279 on Twitter. This is some nobody, some bum with 3 followers. Let's pretend it's some nobody who tweeted this. This on its own is a fairly understandable type tweet. It's not exactly some outrageous extremist tweet. It's not like Chris Jericho tweeted like a death threat at Joe Biden or something like that. It wasn't super extreme, okay? So right away, the pure tweet itself, I'm not just gonna, my head's not gonna explode. I'm not gonna look at this tweet and go, oh my god, how dare Chris Jericho? But where the issue comes and where the cancellations come, and a lot of this is justified, I will say, where the cancellations come is with the hypocrisy surrounding Jericho tweeting this, because Chris Jericho himself, when he opens this tweet by saying, "I'm not a political person," this is the same Chris Jericho who has sent 3 different $1,000 payments to Donald Trump, which, I'm not a political person, meanwhile he does that, and it's the same Chris Jericho who's had Donald Trump's son on Talk Is Jericho about a year ago. So, to say Chris Jericho's not a very political person, it's not really true. It's just a bit of hypocrisy, and Twitter's just absolutely roasted him because of that. Twitter's absolutely thrown the kitchen sink at Chris Jericho in the past day and a half. This thing's been brutal. Now, I'll address the people who've said, "Oh, I won't be watching AW Dynamite ever again because of what Chris Jericho said." Now, to say that is a bit unnecessary, a bit reactionary. Okay, Chris Jericho made a hypocritical comment in relation to his political beliefs. Okay, is that really affecting you? Is that going to really affect the quality of AW Dynamite? I mean, you can't say that if you're a WWE fanboy, let's say. You can't say that. Meanwhile, WWE, with Vince McMahon and Donald Trump, they're like best friends. And the McMahon family, with Linda McMahon working on Trump's administration, and the McMahons and the Trumps are such great friends. And WWE at the top, the top of WWE is perhaps Republican. And then the employees of WWE, it varies, politics, everyone's beliefs are different, yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. But at the top, Trump and McMahon are best friends. So yeah, I mean, WWE is a Republican-type company now. I know in the past, decade, they've really pushed towards, democratic style, very progressive, women's revolution, empowerment, all that kind of stuff, and that's totally cool, but Vince McMahon, Donald Trump are best friends, so I refuse to believe that people are saying that they'll stop watching Dynamite because Chris Jericho made this remark, this hypocritical remark, and at the same time, they're a WWE fanboy. So I wanted to address that, just because there's a bit of 1 + 1 = 1 here. It doesn't make sense. It's not 1 + 1 = 2 type logic. It's just logical. So as for the stuff stuff being said about Jericho, some of this stuff's kind of funny. It's a cancellation of Chris Jericho. I'll read some of these tweets. So For example, Kevin Owens was in the right to turn his back on Chris Jericho. Okay, and we have my drawing of Chris Jericho, which some of this stuff's pretty funny. It's a picture of, I'm not a political person, with a cartoon of Chris Jericho where his nose is about 30 feet long. That's good. Kevin Nash was in the right when he called Chris Jericho a vanilla midget. And then after all these years of calling people stupid idiots, it turns out Chris Jericho was a stupid idiot all along. And then there's more. Chris Jericho should have never beaten The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night. Like, so some of these tweets just don't really make sense. Some are completely justified. I think when it comes to Chris Jericho being cancelled and cancel culture as a whole, in my personal opinion, it just doesn't matter. Like, your political beliefs, to his your own. It shouldn't affect how you really view someone. Like, everyone's different. Not everyone's going to think the same way. If you think it should be that way, then, I mean, there's problems, especially in, like, an American-type society and how they've got their government and politics set up. I think Jericho, completely hypocritical to say that I'm not a political person. That's just a bit redundant, considering that he's donated $3,000 to Donald Trump and he's had Donald Trump Jr. on the podcast and he has a good relationship with the Trumps and whatnot. It's very hypocritical and he deserved to be called out totally. The full cancellation, I guess, fair enough. It's 2020. It's to come with the territory. It's social media in 2020. You do stuff like what Jericho did and you're going to be absolutely called out, especially considering Jericho's status. He's one of the faces of All Elite Wrestling, so you're going to get that type of stuff as far as people wanting to rip you down and bring you down and all that kind of stuff. I think Jericho's tweet, ignoring the I'm not a political person thing, because that's just kind of redundant. The whole, is it strange to anybody else that for the first time ever, we have to wait a day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days to find out who won the presidential race. One thing other people are bringing up, which is very valid, the 2000 presidential race, which I wasn't, there live following that presidential race, but apparently that one took a few days, so a bit redundant there as well. So in that regard, Jericho's wrong in two aspects, in two manners, but at the same time, I think the tweet as a whole is fair, excluding the I'm not a political person bit. In general, it's kind of fair. The fact that it's a bit weird that you don't get the result of the election on election night specifically, like that whole premise is perfectly fine. The fact that the election's been dragged out for a few days, so I think that bit's fine, but just, I'm not a political person. Is it weird to wait 2 days considering the 2000 election was a few days? Jericho, I don't think he had the worst of intentions here. It's not like he was tweeting, I'm not even going to say that because that's going to be clipped, never mind. But yeah, it's not like he was tweeting some just heinous threat at Joe Biden or some heinous racist tweet or some awfully sexist, misogynistic tweet. Like, he could have said, and you can say so much worse on social media, especially on Twitter, considering the character limit and how just remorseless tweets can sound. So yeah, that's been the cancellation of Chris Jericho. Personally, I don't think, outside of the hypocrisy of I'm not a political person and the fact that he was wrong with the whole wait a day or 2 days considering the 2000 election, outside of those glaring points, I think the tweet as a whole that got Chris Jericho cancelled was not the worst tweet possible. Like, once again, he could have said so much worse, but it's hypocritical. It's not the best look. I can't believe he didn't really delete it considering the backlash he got, but to his own, Jericho doesn't really care at this point. He's 49, about to turn 50. At this point in his life, he barely uses social media, I reckon. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, sub, because on a drill. Chris Jericho has been cancelled. Hopefully you have a good day. See ya.